Now we move to a new chapter in macroeconomics, namely supply and demand theory. This is a very important chapter. Remember that uh, usually demand and supply always go together. It has been, said that demand and supply uh, are the bread and butter of economics. Why is that? Because of the importance of demand and supply in economics, as we will see later on. Okay. Now, of course, we have many markets in any economy. We have the market of goods and services. We have the market of money. We have the market of, stock markets. We have the market of sheep and cows. We have so many markets. Okay, and remember, therefore, a market is a place where people come together, okay, to trade. And usually, a market, consists of two sides: the buying side and the selling side. Usually the buying side is referred to as the demand side, and the selling side is referred to as the supply side. Okay, so in this chapter we're going to discuss the demand and supply separately, and then later on in the chapter we're going to put them together and see how how to find the equilibrium, or the equilibrium, good and service. Now, what is demand? We start with the demand side, and then later on we move to study the supply side. When we say the demand side, the demand is, of course, in economics, the word demand, of course, has a special meaning. It refers to the willingness and ability of purchasers or buyers to purchase different quantities of a good or a service at different prices during a certain period of time, per day, per week, per month, per year, and so on and so forth. Okay? Now, of course, as you look carefully at the definition of the word demand, you will see that unless willingness and ability are there, then you cannot demand. Demand won't exist. So you should have willingness and ability for demand to take place. Imagine somebody has the ability to purchase anything. He has the money, but he doesn't have the will. Therefore, demand won't take place. On the other hand, if somebody has the willingness to purchase goods and services, but he or she does not have the ability, he or she does not have the money to engage in the purchasing, then nothing will take place. Demand won't take place. So therefore, willingness and ability should exist for demand to take place. Right. Now, we move now to talk about something that dictates the demand, which is the law of demand. What actually we mean by the law of demand? The law of demand says the higher the price of a good or service is, the lower is the quantity demanded, ceteris paribus. In other words, when the price goes up, then the quantity demanded will go down. Also, when the price goes down, then the quantity is expected, the quantity demanded goes up, ceteris paribus. When we say ceteris paribus, we mean that everything else is the same. Only we are focusing upon, one thing, which is the price goes up and what happens to the quantity demanded. Nothing else affecting them. So everything else is the same. It's constant. When everything else is the same, then the law of demand works nicely. Which is, the higher the price, of a good or a service is, then you expect the lower is the quantity demanded. Or the lower the price of a good or a service is, the higher is the quantity demanded. So here, as you can see, we can represent, of course, the law of demand in 4 ways. In word, like the one I just stated, of the definition of the law of demand, where it is the higher the price of a good or a service is, the lower is the quantity demanded. So we represented the law of demand in word. Also, we can represent the law of demand in symbols, as you can see over here. When the price of a good goes up, means the quantity demand goes down. Or when the price of a good goes down, of a good or a service goes down, then the quantity demanded of a good or a service, will go up. Ceteris paribus. Ceteris paribus means that everything is the same. Nothing will affect, the issue or the demand, the price and the quantity. Okay? So when we're talking about just the price goes up, the quantity will go down, or the price goes down, the quantity will go up. Okay? No other effects. Everything else, that might affect, the process of, increasing or decreasing in the quantity is fixed. Okay? Now, also we can represent the law of demand in a different also way, in a demand schedule. What actually we mean in a demand schedule? In a demand schedule, of course, the demand schedule is the numerical representation of the law of demand. That is, we give numbers, as you can see over here. Demand schedule of apples. As you can see, the price in dollars, $5, $4, $3, $2, $1. When the price $5, let's say the price of one apple or 1 kilo is $5, probably nobody will buy apples. So we expect zero, the quantity demand is zero. When the price goes down, according to the law of demand, what happens? The quantity will increase. When the price further goes down to 3, we expect the quantity also to increase, the quantity demand to increase. And then the price goes further to 2, okay, a lower, much lower price, then the quantity demand will go up. And when the price goes down to 1, the quantity demanded, increases to 12. So, we put them in combinations here, the combination of 5 and 0 is represented by A in the demand curve. So this is the third way of representing the demand, the law of demand. The fourth way is it here, okay, which is demand curve. Okay, demand curve. Okay, here the demand curve, as you can see, okay, this is the demand schedule. Now we can take these numbers, the demand schedule, and plot it in this, an XY plane to see the shape of the demand, the shape of the demand. Here, the demand curve is the graphical representation of the demand schedule. So the demand curve is the graphical representation of the demand schedule. The demand schedule is the numerical representation, of course, of the law of demand, and the demand curve is the graphical representation of the demand schedule. As you can see, we put those numbers along the vertical axis. Usually, as you can see, this is the price over here, and this is the quantity. Remember that always, by convention, the price is stated along the vertical axis, and the demand and the quantity demanded along the horizontal axis. Okay? Great. So now we put the price here along the vertical axis. The quantity demand is along the horizontal axis. And when we, assign those numbers, those combination, we come up with a straight line. As you can see, it is downward sloping. Okay? So the law of demand basically gives us an inverse relationship between the price of a good and the quantity demanded of a good, which means that we will have a downward sloping curve. So the demand schedule will give us a downward sloping curve, which has a negative slope. Why? Because of the low demand. Because there is an inverse relationship between the price and the quantity demand. When the price goes up, the quantity demand goes down. Or when the price goes down, the quantity demand goes up, as you can see. When the price goes down, the quantity demand goes up. And when the price goes up, the quantity demand goes down. So we have an inverse relationship between the price of a good and the quantity demand of that good. So the law of demand always shows an inverse relationship between the price and the quantity demanded. Of course, we have already stated the law of demand. And we said that according to the law of demand, we have an inverse relationship between the price of a good and the quantity demand of that good. Now, let us basically go deeper in this, and say, why does the quantity demand go down as the price goes up? So we need now to investigate the reasons for this inverse relationship between the price of a good and the quantity demand. So here we can identify, two reasons for this inverse relationship between the price of a good and the quantity demand. The first reason is that people substitute lower price goods for higher price goods. This is, the kind of nature of people that they would like to substitute the lower price goods for higher price goods. Remember that there are many different goods in the market that satisfy thirst, and many also different goods in the market that satisfy hunger. Let's say, you are thirsty. Of course, you can satisfy your thirst, by consuming or drinking, many substitute goods, such as orange juice, apple juice, pineapple juice, grapefruit juice, Suppose, you are between the choices of consuming orange juice or apple juice, okay? Let's say at one day you notice that the price of apple juice rises. So what you do? Of course, you want to satisfy your thirst. So you go and consume the substitute of apple juice, which is, if orange juice is available, then you go and drink orange juice, assuming the price of orange juice is still the same. So as a result of the rise in the price of apple juice, then you shift to the other good, that serve the same purpose, which is, orange juice. So you consume less apple juice and more orange juice. So here you can say this is one reason that explain the inverse relationship between the price of a good and the quantity demand of that good. Or this is one reason that explains the law of demand. What about the other reason? The other reason, of course, for the inverse relationship between the price and quantity demand has to do with the law of diminishing marginal utility. Let's look carefully at this, the word stated, in this law. The law of diminishing marginal utility. Diminishing, we mean decreasing or declining. Marginal, we means additional or extra. Utility, we mean by utility satisfaction or happiness. Great. Now, the law states that for a given time period, in the afternoon, in the morning, at night, for a given time period, the marginal or additional utility or satisfaction or happiness gained by consuming equal successive units of a good will decline or decrease as the amount consumed increases. Let's illustrate this law, numerically by a schedule here. We have here number of oranges consumed. We have 1, 2, 3, 4. Here we have a column, total utility. Of course, utility or satisfaction is measured by utils. Great. Same thing, marginal utility. So here, the column here, total utility, here, marginal utility, and we have the price of oranges. Great. Now, as you can see, as more oranges consumed, the total utility increases. When the consumer, eats one orange, his total utility is 100. When he consumes two oranges, his total utility is 190 utils. When he consumes three oranges, or eats three oranges, his total utility is 260 utils. Same thing when he, eats four oranges, of course, his total utility, increases to 310. As you can see, more consumption of a good, higher total utility. What about the marginal utility? Remember, marginal utility is the change in total utility over the change in the quantity demanded, or the quantity consumed. So, which is equal change, it means change. This is delta, it means a change. Change in total utility over change in quantity. Change in total utility means TU2 minus TU1, or TU1 minus TU0, TU3 minus TU2, and so on and so forth. Change in quantity, Q2 minus Q1, or Q3 minus Q2, or Q1 minus Q0. Okay? So now, to find the marginal utility of consuming, the first one is that the same thing. When you consume the first orange, your total utility is 100. The same thing, your marginal utility is also 100. What about when you consume the second? Ate the first orange, I get marginal utility or total utility, the same thing, 100 utils. What about when I eat the second utility, the second orange? What is the additional utility again? It is 190 minus 100 over 2 minus 1. And we come up with 90 utils. What about when I consume the third orange? What is the marginal utility when you consume the third orange? When I consume the third orange, then my marginal utility, the extra utility again, is 70, which is attained or obtained by subtracting 260 minus 190 over 3 minus 2. Great. Now what about when I consumed or eat the fourth orange? What is my additional or extra utility? It is 50. As you can see, more consumption of a good, the lower marginal utility I gain. So here I graph them. As you can see, the graph of total utility is upward sloping, which indicates that the more of a good consumed, the higher the total utility, which means that we have a positive slope curve of total utility. However, for the marginal utility, the higher the quantity of a good consumed, the lower is the marginal utility. In other words, we have a decreasing marginal utility curve. Now, great. Now, of course, the question, what does this law, of course, have to do with the law of demand? With the law of demand. Of course, economists state that the more utility you receive, then the more utility you receive from a unit of a good, then you are willing to pay higher price. When you consume a good and you gain higher utility for it, you are willing to pay higher price for it. So remember it, when I consume the first unit, my marginal utility is 100. It's higher than when I consume the second unit of oranges. Here, when I consume the first orange, my marginal utility is 100. What about when the second orange I consume, I get 90. So I'm willing to pay higher price for the first orange than the second orange. Why? Because the first orange gave me what? The first orange, when I consume it, gives me higher utility. So the good that gives me higher utility, the unit of a good that gives me higher utility, I'm willing to pay higher price for it. Okay? So that's what actually economists state. They state that the more utility for you receive from a unit of a good, okay, the higher the price you are willing to pay for it. Also, the less utility you receive from a unit of a good, the lower the price you are willing to pay for it. So as you can see here, the first unit of a good gives you higher utility than the second one. Therefore, you pay higher price for the first unit, and you pay higher price for the first unit than the second unit. You have higher utility in the second unit, unit of oranges than the third unit. Then you are willing to pay higher price for the second unit than the third unit, 7 greater than 5. For the third unit of orange, you are getting 70 utils more than the fourth one, 50 utils. So you are willing to pay for the third unit of a good 5, the price, $5 or 5 whatever currency, higher than the fourth unit of good. So you get, or you are willing to pay a price higher than the fourth unit of a good. So this is also a reason, for explaining the inverse relationship between the price of the good and the quantity demanded of that good. Now we move to talk about individual demand curve and market demand curve. Of course, individual demand curve represents the price quantity combinations. Okay, you have combination of price and quantity of a particular good for a single consumer or a single buyer, as you can see here. Okay, look over here. This is here. This is the demand schedule. We said the demand schedule, of course, represents the numerical representation of the law of demand. Okay, here, as you can see, the price, start 1, 2, 3, 4. We have over here 3 consumers, namely Ahmed, Omar, and Taha. Price and the quantity. This is the price and this is the quantity here. Okay, as you can see, when the price $1, okay, or whatever, the quantity is 10. When the price increases, the quantity goes down. This is the essence of the law of demand. The same thing goes for Omar. The same thing goes for Taha and all buyers. Okay, as you can see, to find the quantity demanded of all buyers, what you do at each price, we add the quantities. For instance, at the price 1, how many units of good X Ahmed consumed? 10. How many units at the price 1 Omar consumed? 20. How many units Taha consumed at the price 1? So we add all these, 10 plus 20 plus 15, we get 45 at the price 1. To find the total amount consumed or demanded of good X at the price 2, what we do? We add all the quantities of all consumers. We have 3 consumers, okay? And this is, we give you 32. To find the total amount consumed of good X, at the price of 3. So at the price 3, we added those. 5 plus 10 plus 7, we get 22. At price of 4, we add these. 3 plus 6 plus 4 plus, we get 13. Okay. This is the demand schedule, which shows the numerical representation of the law of demand. Now, as I said, an individual demand, this is individual demand for Ahmed. This is Omar, and the price represent the individual demand for Omar. The price and, Taha here, the quantity, represent the individual demand of Taha. Okay? And here represent the demand for all buyers. Okay? For all buyers. The price with these, with the quantities of all buyers represent actually the market demand. Okay? If the market consists of 3 consumers. Now, what about the market demand? The market demand curve represents the price quantity combination of a good for all buyers. This is here, all buyers with the price. So the price quantities, okay, of all buyers represent the market demand. Now, as you can see over here, the market demand schedule is obtained. This is schedule, the market demand schedule here, all buyers with the price, is obtained by adding the quantities demanded at each price. So at each price, as I already said, at the price 1, what we do, we add the quantities of Ahmad, Omar, and Taha. We get 45. At the price of 2, we add the quantities of Ahmad, Omar, and Taha, we get 32. At the price of 3, we add the quantities of Ahmad, Omar, Taha, and we get 22, and so on and so forth. Okay? Consider the derivation of the market demand schedule and the market demand curve. Say we have 3 individuals, Ahmad, Omar, and Taha. So here we derive the market demand schedule, which is the numerical representation of the law of demand. And here we derive what? Of course, we derive the demand curve of Ahmad, Omar, Taha, and the market demand curve. As you can see, to find the individual demand curve of Ahmad, the demand curve of Ahmad, what to do? We take the prices, 1, 2, 3, 4, and we take the quantities. As this is the quantities over here, we get 5, 10, and then we illustrate it with this market, the market. This is the demand curve of Ahmad. Here, the demand curve of Omar, okay? The demand curve of Omar. As you can see, the demand curve of Ahmad, the demand curve of Omar, I put here 2 numbers here along the horizontal axis, and the other numbers, are easily, illustrated. Okay. As you can see, the demand curve of Ahmad, the demand curve of Omar, the demand curve of Taha, and also the demand curve of the market are downward sloping because of the inverse relationship between the price and the quantity demanded. So as you can see, this is how we derive the demand schedule and the demand curve of the individuals and the market.